Getting out here from my afternoon route. I got a kind of a hot topic I want to talk about today. Actually wasn't planning to discuss this for a while, but due to the events of the past couple of weeks, a couple of things that have happened, I'm deciding to talk about it after all. So I know, it's kind of a hotbed topic in the business. Who do you prefer to work for? Do you prefer to work for a landlord or a tenant? And I know where I stand on this. Typically, I prefer to work for a landlord. I've just had better luck overall, with getting able to do good work, and consistent work that way. That doesn't mean there aren't exceptions to that rule, of course, but typically I'd prefer to work for a landlord of a property. And I want to give you all a little example of something that happened to me last week. So I've been working for this guy for about a month, and he's got a property that I maintain, and I knew that he was not living there, essentially. He was going to be renting out the property, and because he had moved away. Well, I was maintaining the property, and he would pay me through Zelle. I'd send him an invoice, he'd pay me through Zelle. Easy way to do it. I was under the understanding that was going to continue with the tenant. However, he reached out to me one day, and he gave me the tenant's information and said, "Oh, by the way, here's the tenant's information. The tenant's going to be taking care of the payment from now on for the lawn." Which I'm kind of like, okay. Which, like I said, typically I prefer to deal with the landlord. That's not to say I haven't had good luck with a tenant. I've had good tenants before that have, everything's been fine that way. I have a few that are currently that way, but it's been my experience that it's better to work for the landlord if you can. So, I kind of said, okay, in my head thinking, well, this might be a problem, but we'll see. We'll talk to the tenant, see how everything goes. So, reached out to the tenant, made contact with them, and ended up being that when I talked to the tenant and told him, what I did, and just when we got to price, and I told the tenant the price for the lawn, the tenant became very, shall we say, hesitant and very. He kind of got, oh well, I don't know about that. That's not the price I was told. Blah blah blah, from the landlord. Yada yada yada. And he started trying to go off and on about. And he gave me a different figure, that he'd been given. He'd been apparently given a price by the landlord, and he'd been given a price that was not the price that I was doing the yard for. So I was thinking, in my head I'm thinking somebody's trying to clown me here. Something's going on here. So ended up reaching out to the landlord. And heck, the funny thing was, the landlord goes, "Oh man, my bad. I screwed up. Basically, I told him the wrong information. Why don't you just bill me from now on as we've done it, and we'll just resume that way?" And so I'm like, "Hey, perfect. That works out. I'd rather do that. I'd rather do that too. That's a much easier, much simpler situation. Plus it doesn't put you in the crosshairs of tenants and landlords fighting, which I've been in that one of those a couple of times before. Let me see. This lady I used to know years ago. She owned a house and ended up moving out of state all the way up to somewhere on the East Coast, I believe it was, way away from here. Well, she decided she was going to rent that house, the property, and she, tells me, I talked to her at first. I said, "Hey, do you want me to, do the yard, and you pay me as you've been paying me, and, you just, we'll communicate that with the tenants. If you need to bundle that into their rent, however you want to do that, fine. But this is probably a better option for you, if you're wanting to take care of this property and ensure that things get done. And she goes, no, I don't want to do that. I want the tenants to pay for it. Oh, okay. All right. Fine. So be it. So first tenants moved in. I took care of the property for a season, maybe a season and a half, I think. Everything was fine. I, didn't really have any contact with the landlord anymore at that point. Sorry, I'm itching right here. Scratch. So at that point, I didn't have any, really didn't have any more contact with the landlord. So, okay, I'm moving forward. I'm just be dealing with the tenants. Well, the first tenants moved out. Second tenants moved in, and they decided to go with someone else, to use someone else for their lawn. They wanted somebody cheaper, I believe, if I remember correctly. So, no problem. That was it. I left. Well, I think it was 3 years later, two or 3 years later, I randomly get a call from the landlord of this property, and she's asking me to go to court for her on her behalf to basically testify against these tenants that they ruined her house and they destroyed her landscape and killed all of her grass. And I'm sitting there thinking, you realize I have not worked for these tenants. I don't know who these people are. I'm not going to court for you. I basically told her straight up, we had this conversation. You did not want to, bundle the rent, or you did not want to take care of the property like this for the maintaining the lawn and the shrubs and all that. You did not want to do that. You wanted the tenants to do that. The tenants you picked after the first tenants left hired someone else. I have no idea what happened after that, so I cannot go to court for you. She was not happy, needless to say. She was very upset. And, at the end of the day, it's you had your chance. You should have been smarter, You should have listened to me when I told you this, you don't know what somebody could do in this situation. And that's why, I work for another lady currently who is somebody that owns a home that I was, maintaining the home for her when she lived there. But she's currently a landlord because she got a different house and rented this property out. And she uses a property management company to kind of handle things like payments and things like maintenance requests for things like the fixtures in the house and whatnot. But she uses me still, and she retained my services for the landscape, the lawn care. So, and that's, a really good way to do it, in my opinion, because I deal with the landlord in that situation. I deal with her. I have the contacts of the tenants, and other than letting them know that, hey, I'll be out on so-and-so date, it's between so-and-so time, if there's any way I can kind of predict the time, I try to give them the time. But, hey, I'll be out on this date to service the property, just to let you know, and then tell them again when I'm leaving, the job's finished, gates secured, that sort of thing. And other than that, I don't have any contact with them. And that's perfect. That's a good way to do it. Now, I know, somebody might say, well, what about, if the landlord's not a very good person and this and that and this and that, and that is something I have ran into as well. So, a couple years ago, I worked for a guy, and he was a tenant in this house. Ironically, around the corner from where I currently live. Kind of bizarre how that works out. But this person lived in this house, and he was a really nice guy, a really good guy. He always paid on time. He always, was, super nice, got me some extra work when possible. But the thing was, he was a tenant there, and the landlord was, this was an individual who, the slang term referred to a lot of times for these people as a slumlord. This guy was, for all intents and purposes, mostly a nice guy, as I've heard, but he was a slumlord, meaning he, didn't maintain the property very well, didn't do normal upkeep, you know, wouldn't come and fix, you know, problems unless they were like major problems, and even then it was like pulling teeth to get him out there when the AC had a problem, or, you know, I remember in one case the tenant was actually telling me this, that the plumbing had a problem. There was there was possibly a broken pipe or somewhere the kitchen wouldn't drain or something like that, and the landlord told him to just take the clean out cap off on the side and drain it all out of the side there. And it's like, what? You know, fix your damn property, man. Come on, you know, you own this property. It's your responsibility to fix and upkeep this property. Well, this guy was not that kind of person. He was a cheap person, and he ended up running for mayor in a town near me, ironically, and unsuccessfully ran for mayor, let me say. So yeah, needless to say, people were on to him, and not a good person to rent for, not a good person to work for. I imagine if I'd been working for the landlord instead of the tenant in this situation here, I would have been running around constantly trying to collect my money. I would have constantly been arguing with this guy about prices. I constantly would have been, you know, arguing about services because he wouldn't want to pay for X and he wouldn't want to pay for Y. And, you know, in this case, it was better for me in this case, 100% better, that I worked for the tenant. So that's the way it is a lot of times. You know, you never can be sure. Just from my own personal experience, I've had better luck overall with working for landlords, but that doesn't mean every landlord is great. You know, every landlord's not a, you know, shining example of, you know, how a, you know, business owner should operate, you know. And by the same token, every tenant's not, you know, a wonderful person who, you know, wants to take care of their surroundings and have a good home life and everything. A lot of them just don't care. You know, a lot of them just want a place to put their crap and, you know, go to sleep, and they don't care what condition it's in. And, you know, it's sad. It really is sad. I've seen that many times too, you know, where the property isn't upkept. The people that are living there don't care, you know. And it's terrible. It's sad state of affairs. As Marshall Mathers would say, it's a sick world we live in these days. If you know who Marshall Mathers is, you'll know why that shouldn't be taken too seriously. But it's true. I mean, if you think about it, it is kind of a sick world in those sense. You know, it seems like a lot of people don't want to take responsibility. Whether it's, you know, a landlord that doesn't want to take responsibility for his property or his upkeep of his property, or if it's a tenant that doesn't want to take responsibility to, you know, do simple things like pick up your trash, or, you know, pick up your toys, or whatever, you know, clean up the dog crap, or, you know, whatever there is in the yard. You know, you don't want to take responsibility for yourself. You know, you want someone else to do it for you. It's sad. It's unfortunate. You know, I've had another couple of situations recently I've run into with landlords and tenants and situations. I had a customer, you know, former customer this week, just this past week, tell me, you know, I'm not gonna continue the lawn service on my rental, this and that, you know. And it's confusing because it's like you've invested a lot of time into this. You know, you've got people that are renting there that you wanted everything to be good for, and now you're not gonna do that. I don't know. I don't understand it. That I really do not understand. Like, why would you at first make the effort and then decide, never mind, I'm not going to make the effort any longer? It's something that boggles the mind. Nothing I can do, you know, about it except tell them, wish you the best of luck and have a good one. And, you know, chances are the ultimate, here's the thing, the chances are they probably found somebody cheaper. and they just don't want to tell me, which is possible. It's very possible. I drive by that yard every week, just about every 2 or 3 days. I drive by that neighborhood, so I can, if somebody else is cutting it, I'll probably see them. So, anyway, just a few things I wanted to talk about here, get off my chest. The whole tenant landlord thing's really been on my mind lately with regards to lawn care. What do y'all think, though? How many people on here prefers working for tenants? And if you do, by all means, tell me why. If you prefer working for landlords, we got something in common. I think that's my client over there at that shopping center. Interesting. Sorry, just saw somebody over there that I thought I recognized. Anyhow, let me know in the comments, if you agree with me and you'd rather work for landlords, and if you'd rather, be somebody that works for tenants. By all means, tell me your logic behind that. I'd love to hear, another perspective. I'm about to be at this afternoon yard here, get some things done. It's not quite as hot today. Last night and today have been relatively mellow compared to the past 3 weeks. It's only 91 right now. Here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 91. Typically it's 101 this time of day. We still don't have any rain. That's a bummer. Hopefully we'll get some soon. Just waiting to get to a good point where I can stop this and wrap this up here. I don't want to ramble on too long. Ramble on. If you know the song, If you know, you know. I know. Little Zeppelin for you here on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm not much of a singer, but I do know Zeppelin. Just a little bit. Approaching our final destination here. Who here likes Led Zeppelin? What's your favorite Zeppelin song? Tell me in the comments. I know what mine is, but I'll save that reveal for another day. Dip there. All right. And here we go. We are here. Take care.